Alright, so before we start, I just want to say that I apologize for coughing throughout this video, but I managed to later edit it out, so if you guys are confused about that, then there's your answer. Doesn't this aesthetic gentleman in modern day bodybuilding remind you of an 80s fantastic bodybuilder? Well, if you look aside from his amazing quad sweeps, I think that his upper body resembles 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney. So I figured, let me compare him to Lee Haney. I will mainly be using his 2011 Arnold Classic UK version. I know that he just won the Prague Pro, but I can't find any good pictures from that show of all poses, so this will have to suffice. Without further ado, let's get straight to it, starting off with the front double biceps. Wait a minute now. That's not Samson Dauda. That is buff handsome Squidward. Anyway, guys, let me stop with this foolishness. Even though Samson Dauda sort of looks like a handsome Squidward, let's get serious here. Now, in the front double biceps, you can clearly see that when it comes to the wheels, obviously, back in the 80s, it was not that common to have those huge quads. So, even though Lee Haney has more cuts in the wheels, obviously Samson Dauda has an edge there. But in the upper body, they look very similar. But at the same time, I feel like Lee Haney has better biceps peaks and his lats are better. Now, granted, this is a photoshoot picture from Lee Haney, but I just chose the very best pictures that I can find from every pose. Apologize, guys, I'm a bit sick as of this moment, including photoshoot pictures, because as we all know, Samson Dauda, being a modern day bodybuilder, he has the advantage when it comes to the vitamins. So overall, I feel like Lee Haney gets an edge because his upper body is quite a bit better than Samson Dauda, even though they are very similar, and even though Samson Dauda has bigger wheels, but they are less cut as well. Moving on to the front lat spread, I feel like Lee Haney does not maximize this pose, as Samson Dauda looks like he has bigger and wider lats, which is not the case, as we will see from the back. But food for thought, this is a younger version of Lee Haney. This is him from the 1991 Mr. Olympia, where I figure he was the biggest. But this is not a full body picture of Lee Haney, unfortunately. But still, guys, I think that in reality, Lee Haney would win this pose. He just has thicker lats. Excuse-moi. So, in spite of Samson Dauda executing this a bit better in my opinion, I still give this pose to Lee Haney. When it comes to the side chest, again, it is evident that these guys do not hit the side chest the same way. Lee Haney hits it in a more classical manner, and for that matter, so does Samson Dauda compared to most modern day bodybuilders, which I've noticed is a thing of bodybuilders coached by Milo Sarcev. Regan Grimes, after he became a Milo Sarcev athlete, hit the side chest the same way. But overall, even though Samson Dauda has a slight size advantage in the wheels, Lee Haney just a bit more shredded and has better muscle separation upstairs. So I feel like Lee Haney gets his pose. But again, guys, we can notice how similar these dudes are, which is quite amazing considering that they are separated by basically 30 to 40 years. Now, in the side triceps, I could not find a good full body side triceps of Lee Haney, so this hoo-ha pose, as Mark's Max Muscle calls it, will suffice. Fortunately, I could not find a side triceps of Samson Dauda from the Arnold Classic UK as well. So, his Yamamoto Pro version, which in my opinion is a bit inferior to the 2021 Arnold Classic UK version, will have to suffice. But still, guys, in my opinion, this is total domination. Upper body wise, Lee Haney just looks 1,000 times more shredded. And even if we use a contest photo of Lee Haney, fortunately, we don't have it including the whole body. But still, guys, in the upper body, we can clearly see that Lee Haney, a lot more muscle separation and a lot more shredded. which is funny because I think that he even mentioned it, that somehow the modern day bodybuilders, they don't have the same muscle separations and striations as the old school bodybuilders, in spite of them probably being more conditioned, which is a bit of a weird phenomenon. I think that Lee Haney attributed to the training methods, but I think that the vitamins have more to do with that than the training methods, but that's a whole nother story. Still, guys, side triceps, in my opinion, belongs to Lee Haney. When it comes to the back double biceps, look at the back of Lee Haney. Absolutely amazing. Way ahead of his time. If Lee Haney had the same vitamins as the modern day bodybuilders do, he would absolutely have the best back of all time, in my opinion. And Samson Dauda, his glutes, by the way, are not shredded or striated, which is, in my opinion, also reminiscent of an 80s bodybuilders. Honestly, guys, if Samson Dauda did not have those huge wheels, he would, in my opinion, look quite like an 80s bodybuilder. But still, guys, this pose belongs to Lee Haney, in my opinion. And the same goes for the back lat spread. When you look at the width of Lee Haney's back and his lat insertions, you can see that Samson Dauda cannot compete when it comes to that, even though he has an advantage when it comes to the wheels. I don't feel like it is enough. So we move on to the abs and thigh, and they are, or neither of them will win an award for this pose. Lee Haney, by the way, I mentioned that Samson Dauda constantly has an advantage when it comes to the wheels. I apologize. Hopefully my coughing throughout this video is not so annoying as to you guys not being able to enjoy the video. But anyways, as you can see, Lee Haney, he has more cuts in his quads and more striations, which is sort of consistent throughout the video. Lee Haney overall more cuts and striations, even though he might be less conditioned when it comes to how much body fat they do have. Why that is, very difficult to tell. Anyway, upper body wise, I feel like Lee Haney has a bit of a better V-taper, which is attributed mainly to his better lats. So, I don't know, guys. Who gets his pose? It's hard to tell. They both also have that gnarly ab split, which, in my opinion, is quite crazy how similar they are upper body wise. Their pecs, their abs, their arms, in my opinion, very similar. Their structure as well. So, that is basically why I wanted to do this comparison, but keep in mind it's only a fun comparison. Anyway, moving on to the last pose. And even though Samson Dauda is bigger, so to speak, he has more muscle on his frame. Again, guys, look at the striations and muscle separation that Lee Haney portrays, which, in my opinion, is quite crazy because the vitamins today are better, but I don't know, maybe the vitamins that they use today sort of causes something that creates a lack of muscle separations and striations. But who knows, guys, it might also be attributed to the lighting, but I don't know, guys. I feel like in spite of the lighting, taking that into consideration, Lee Haney still has better muscle separation and more striations. So another question can be answered in this comparison. Could Lee Haney defeat a modern day bodybuilder that has won a pro show? In other words, who wins between Lee Haney and Samson Dauda? In my opinion, I think that in spite of him lacking in the wheels, I still think that Lee Haney would emerge victorious. And guys, if you think that that is unrealistic, take a look at Brandon Curry. He also is lacking in the wheels, and he placed second at this year's and last year's Mr. Olympia. So the wheels is not the end-all be-all, and Samson Dauda is not the biggest bodybuilder of all time. But overall, guys, this was just a fun comparison. Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with me that these two bodybuilders, upper body-wise at least, are fairly identical? Or maybe not identical, but very similar. That was it, guys. Hope you guys were not that annoyed by my coughing. As I said, I apologize. I'm a bit sick today. That was it, guys. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you, beautiful ladies and gentlemen, later.